It's 45 RPNs with Ernie Enns and Nigel Bard, episode 15. And happy Canada Day. We are here on exactly July 5th, 5 p.m. at GPAC. And I'm here with Ernie Enns. So we're rolling, as the Paul McCartney song says. And
let it roll.
Let it roll.
Let it roll.
Let it roll. So, yeah, it's been another busy week here in Carmen for many. And, here we are talking about music, collecting, and whatever in between. And I'm just going to restate my objective with this podcast, which is to bridge and talk and entertain, and to help us reach a broader audience and reach out to friends and potential friends who might be interested in some of the music that we talk about and the ideas we talk about, and just want to learn a little bit about music and collecting and whatever in between. So today we're talking about the Guess Who, because yesterday was apparently Guess Who Day.
Yesterday was Guess Who Day. June the 30th is Guess Who Day, and just to me it is. As the reason I say that is because in the year 2000, on June the 30th, was run back through Canada, and they were in Winnipeg on June the 30th. And that particular concert at the CanWest Global Park, I think we went through that one time. Did we talk about that one?
Ever? Hard to say. It might have been off air. We talked off air about that.
Yeah,
it was
a live concert, and it was in the ballpark, and it was raining and lightning, and it was just, it was awesome.
Yeah, I think we were talking about that when I brought up the storms.
Yeah, so I think we've kind of gone over that concert and how we got wet.
So I'll take photos of these, but tell me what you got here in terms of your collection.
I brought a bunch of Guess Who, kind of their studio collection, or studio vinyl. And some of these are first pressings and stuff, and you want to go through them one by one type thing. And I don't have the first three, which is, to a lot of people, is not considered the original lineup. So this was pre-Guess Who stuff, although this is where they got their name from. They started out with Shakin' All Over, so they were called Chad Allen and the Expressions. Before that, they were called the Reflections, and then they changed to Expressions, and what they did is they recorded this song, Shakin' All Over. Okay. Yeah. And apparently, you can read everything I'm going to say today. You can read on the internet or find out. Some of the stuff you can't, because there's little oddities in here that we'll talk about yet. But rumor has it, or the story goes, that they were recording "Shakin' All Over," which is a song out of England called by Johnny Kidd, and they had worked on it all night, on this song, and worked on it all night, and everybody was really, really tired. Chad Allen was just wasted. He was just so done. He was laying on his back in the garage. I'm assuming on a cement floor, right, if he's in the garage. And the take that we hear now was recorded when he was laying down, just screaming into the mic. That is what they say. That's what I've heard. And so that's his CD. I don't have the vinyl for the first three, which is not really considered the original Guess Who lineup, but it's still the Guess Who. So it's Guess Who with a question mark. And the reason they did that is because this song, Shakin' All Over, was a song out of England. They wanted the Canadian audience to think it was British, because you remember, this is the British invasion at this time, and they wanted people to think it was British band doing this song, Shakin' All Over, and it was an excellent recording, and really it was these guys. So what they did on the 45, they did Shakin' All Over, Guess Who question mark. They were asking you, who do you think it is? That wasn't the name of their band. That's how they got their name. And a lot of people don't know that, but you can find out all this stuff on the internet.
Cool.
So anyway, so they called that one, and on the CDs they made here, there was a red one and a blue one and a green one, And so that's how they started to get their name, the Guess Who. And then they continued again, Chad Allen, the Expressions, again, Hey Ho, the album was called. And again, it was Guess Who. So they were doing songs like, what would be, I'm not sure if any of these really made much on there. Stop Teasing Me might have. But it was certainly where Randy Bachman started to write songs. Or he was, I don't know if he did any on here or not. And so, yeah, he did some writing on here too. So it was good for Bachman to be writing songs. And
this was pre-Burton Cummings era.
this was pre-Burton Cummings, and that's why it's not really considered to be the original Guess Who lineup.
Oh, yeah.
So these guys here are. Well, I should just read the lineup to you.
Yeah.
Who is in the band at this time? And where is that? Where is it? I should list it here somewhere. Let's see. I'm sure it says here somewhere. Oh, here at the time. So Randy was on lead guitar, and so Chad Allen, who was originally, his name was Alan Coble,
Yes.
changed his name to Chad Allen, and he and Randy Bachman on guitar, Gary Peterson on drums, Bob Ashley, I think was keyboards if I'm right, and then Jim Cale was on bass, and so that was the lineup for these guys, and so. And then along came Hey Ho, and we still got the same lineup. We got Bob Ashley, we got Randy Bachman, we got Jim Cale, we got Gary Peterson, and Chad Allen. And the same lineup for that. And they're still doing songs, the odd one Randy Bachman writes, and Stop Teasing Me. And I'm not sure if any made it off it. And that album is called Hey Ho. Yeah. And that song is the name of a single off that album, Hey Ho. And then enter Burton Cummings. So this is still with the original lineup except for the lead singer. So now Chad Allen, I guess, went on to bigger and better things, and in steps Burton Cummings, who was playing with the Deverons at the time, a band called the Deverons. And the biggest band, or the most successful band, I guess, in Winnipeg at that time was the Guess Who. And so now Chad Allen's leaving, and so the Guess Who need a singer. And so they go to the Deverons lead singer, to Burton Cummings, and they say, we'd like to hire you to be our lead singer, they said to him. And I've heard all these interviews with Cummings and this sort of thing. And what Cummings said to them, he looked at them because the best band in Winnipeg is asking him to sing for them. And he just thought, no way. He said, so his answer was, when they asked him if you want to sing, his answer was, no, sorry, I can't. The Beatles asked me last week. So he was, typical Burton Cummings, smart aleck type remark. And so, but anyway, long story short, he started to sing with him, and then now he was part of the band. And so on this album called It's Time, there's a song in there called And She's Mine. Great song, written by Randy Bachman. Clock on the Wall, I think, was a big hit for them. Kind of like a local big hit, I'm talking. And so, and then I guess Bob Ashley must have left, because now they were now they're in the studio, Wheat Fuel Soul, their first album they did as those four guys together. And yep. And when they cut this album was cut in 1968. Wheat Fuel Soul, it's called. And off of it was These Eyes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, These Eyes. First song on side one is These Eyes, and then other than that, it was a bunch of album cuts. Some of them pretty good songs, like Wednesday in Your Garden was a nice song, and that was written by Bachman. Actually, I didn't realize that was written by Bachman. But These Eyes was written, I just remember Randy Bachman talking about the song These Eyes. Mm-hmm. And he was, he met this girl at one of the gigs that he was playing at. I forget her name. What was her name? Anyway, he ended up marrying her. But anyway, he met this girl, and they line up a date. So he goes to her place to pick her up. And he walks into the house. The mother lets him in. He knocks on the door. The mother lets him in, and mother says she'll be right down. She was upstairs getting ready. And so Randy says he's standing there and kind of bored, looking around, and so there's a piano right there, piano sitting right there, right close by. So he just goes over to the piano and he goes doom doom doo 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 doom 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 doo 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 doo, and he started playing that little piece, and then he's singing to himself, and he's singing, "These arms, do 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 do, long to hold you, do 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 do, these arms."
Oh, wow.
And so that was the beginning of that song. He's just noodling, because when you write songs, you always have a new song in your head going.
Yeah.
And so he's noodling at this song. And anyway, they go out on their date, and eventually he did marry this girl.
Oh, this is a lot.
But anyway, so he brings this song to Burton Cummings, and Burton Cummings says to him, he listens to it, and he says, "Well, why don't you change it to these eyes, and then you on the next line you can go to these arms, then you have a place to go."
Yeah.
And Randy says, "Well, no, it's supposed to be like these arms." And he said, "Well, just try it." Yeah. So he had gone, "These eyes, these arms long to," it was like it worked.
Wow.
Randy says it worked, and he lo and behold, they recorded the song, and they were a hit. And that made them, sure. I mean, it changed their lives is what it did.
Yeah.
That song.
Yeah.
It wasn't their biggest hit by any means, but it took them that one step towards getting that biggest hit.
Yeah.
And so they were, they were a big hit.
Yes.
And so that was awesome for the band. So that came off of this album. Of course, then they go back into the studio, and they got to get serious about writing songs and recording. So I guess they went in and they started writing more songs, and they came out with an album called Canned Wheat, which is kind of a cool name. And I remember back in just going back to the first album, Wheatfield Soul. I remember back in the 90s, I was playing in a band for a while, and that's what we called ourselves, Wheatfield Soul. We were a country band, but I just love that name. It's such a nice Canadian name, that sort of thing. So anyway, now we are looking at an album called Canned Wheat. I'm not sure exactly the time frame on this. Would have been shortly after that. And so he's got the music. So anyway, on this album, Canned Wheat, they wrote songs like "No Time," and which is slightly different version what we hear on radio now. And so in really, if you listen to this version, it's really good. Like I almost prefer this to the one you hear now. Mm-hmm. It's produced a little differently. So, and then Laughing. And Laughing, is a good story about that too, is because they had these eyes. Mm-hmm. Of course, the record companies and the producers and the managers, they all push for, put out another song while this song is up here. Put out another song. Let's ride the wave. And so they quickly went and wrote this song, Laughing. Kind of the same feeling, Ding, ding, I should laugh, but I cry. So it kind of has the same These Eyes feeling. Yeah. And so they put that out as quick as they could.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so Riding the Wave, let's stay up there if we can. And it became a hit too. And then there was in New York City, there was a DJ in New York City that took Laughing and they flipped it over. And he played the other side because there was a that's how you did it in those days. You put another song on the other side. The B side was usually just whatever. And he flipped it over, and the phone lines lit up. It was undone. Was the flip side of that. Yeah. So, and it became so it was one of those two-sided hit singles. And I didn't bring that 45 along. Yeah. And then everything else on there is more or less oh, there's some really cool fingerstyle guitar on one of these songs and stuff like that. And so yeah, this it's all pretty good album stuff when you
Yeah.
listen to it. And so that was kind of neat. And so they're playing, and now we're up to they're touring. Okay, they got These Eyes, and they got uh, Laughing and Undone did well, and all of a sudden they're a hit. And so they're touring Canada, and they're at a gig somewhere. I'm not sure if it was in Winnipeg or not. I should know these details, but whatever. Everything I'm telling you, you can find out on the internet. But they're doing a gig somewhere, and Randy breaks a string. He breaks his D string. And so, okay, the band's going to take a short break, and then they go outside for their smoke or whatever they do, and Randy stays inside. Randy never smoked, so so he's doing his string. Put his new D string on there like that, and like some of these details I know because I went to Randy Bachman's Every Song Tells a Story concert, so I heard him tell all these stories about these songs. And so he said he put the string on and he started got it in tune, and then he started to just test it out, because you usually got to stretch a string a little bit.
Yeah.
So you play something. That's what I do. I play a little raunchy just to give the string a little so
Yeah.
it stays in tune.
Yeah.
And so he's testing the string out, and he goes so he's doing so just there was another one. It's just noodling around on his guitar, and then Burton outside and the other guys outside, and they're all over. While Burton was whatever, they're scattered around. They hear this. Oh, the band must be ready to go. So
Yeah.
I better get up there. And so all the other guys come to the stage because it sounds like we're ready to go. And then it sounded so good what Randy was doing. He kept doing it. And then Kill comes in on the bass, and Peterson comes in on the drums. And so they're noodling and jamming on this song. And Cummings figures, well, I'm a singer. I got to say something. And so he starts singing. He says, he just sang whatever. And it's American Woman. Stay away from me,
So
American Woman.
good.
He says, because we had just come from the States. And he had talked a little bit about that. And he just thought the Canadian girls were so much more innocent and all that stuff. And so he liked Canadian girls is what he was saying. So
Right.
American Woman, because they've been touring the south of the border.
Right.
It's American Woman, stay away from me. And it's going like that. And so there you have it. There you got that.
Oh my God.
And so there in 1970, when they hit number one on, I believe, May the 8th, May the 8th of 1970,
yeah.
they hit number one with that song.
Wow.
And he said we were in New York City recording. He says the band is New York City. We're in the motel, in the hotel, and he said we heard it on the radio. This is number one, and they played American Woman. He said we jumped on the bed in the motel room. He says all four of us were jumping up and down on the bed like they do when they send the cup, that sort of thing.
So awesome.
So yeah, it was so very exciting times for those guys. And this album actually spawned a lot of really, really good material. Like these guys were now very good songwriters. American Woman, No Time, and they redid No Time from the other one. They, I guess they shortened it, made it a little more radio friendly.
Yeah.
Is what they did. But the other version is well worth checking out.
Yeah.
And then, of course, here's No Sugar Tonight and New Mother Nature. And that's interesting, too, because you can't find... This is No Sugar Tonight that the DJs would have been playing.
Oh yeah.
Right? They played the flip side of American Woman.
Oh.
Then they played No Sugar Tonight. And that song, when I heard that on the radio when I was a young boy... I was out pedaling my bike, and out in the evenings, that's what you did, right? Out in the country, and I was out riding my bike, and I remember hearing this song, and I'm out on my bike thinking, wow, and it keeps going around in my head. I've always been that music's always been in my head.
Yeah.
And this song is going through my head, and I thought, that's the greatest song I've ever heard. Like, No Sugar Tonight. So this really, really caught me, and I was ready listening to pop music because of songs like Mendocino by Sir Douglas Quintet, or And songs like that, or Judy in Disguise, and
Hmm.
some of those songs really caught me. So now I was ready into the pop scene, listening to music.
Yeah.
And then this song comes out, and well, oh, and it was crazy. So it's the
Oh.
only place on this 45 is the only place you can get the No Sugar Tonight by itself.
Yes.
Everywhere else, it's No Sugar Tonight and New Mother Nature. On all the other albums, they're together, those two songs.
Right.
So if you want just this version, which is 2 minutes long, 2 minutes and 4 seconds long, it's on the flip side of American Woman. An American Woman here is stripped down for the 45 also, and it's still 3:51. It's still a long song. So, and the Nimbus 9 label, we had talked about that before too. Look how gorgeous that is.
That's just crisp.
Isn't that
Wow.
beautiful? Just the color. Who would have thought those two colors would go together?
Yeah.
Just beautiful.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the oddity of that 45. I bought a few, things like that along. So anyway, and continue here. No Sugar Tonight, New Mother Nature, 969, The Oldest Man. And you know who that is? Methuselah from the Bible.
Oh.
He lived to be 969 years old.
Oh.
So I guess that's what it's about. 969, The Oldest Man, it's called. And it's a great, great song, great instrumental. And kind of what makes, when I see that song, I think of the very last, when the Guess Who were at their top of the game and Randy Bachman walked out of the band.
Oh.
And that's a story in itself. But when he left the band, they did their last gig in New York, I think it was. And this Jim Milligan, who was their manager, he says, I had never heard Randy play like that night. It was his last gig and he was done and he played his heart out.
Wow.
But anyway, he played this song. That's the last song he played with the Guess Who. Doo-doo, doo-doo. And so on stage, I don't know if it was the last song he played with them, but he played that song.
Wow.
On stage, and so it's a really cool song. You got to hear it sometime.
Yeah.
And then When Friends Fall Out, I brought that 45. When Friends Fall Out, that's that one there. And that oddity on that one is on the flip side of this song, you have a song called the Guess Who Blues.
Oh.
And the Guess Who Blues is not on any album. It's nowhere to be found. The only place it is on the flip side of When Friends Fall Out. And so that's the only way to get it, is if you have this 45. And it's a really cool song. I mean, it's obviously from their very early years because it sounds very not as mature as this stuff already, you know?
Yeah.
And then they had a song, and then there's a song called 815 on there, which is great rocker too. 815, do 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 do, 815. So it's great rocker. And then Proper Stranger, like this. Look at this album. It's just solid, good stuff.
Wow.
Proper Stranger was such a good song. And then they do Humpty's Blues, and that's great. That's a really good song. So this whole album is one of those that you got to give it a listen, you know.
Yeah.
And then they end with the American Woman epilogue, which means it's that acoustic. They added this little, for the album, they added this little acoustic part, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
It's a slow bluesy thing. So, and this is also a gatefold album. So now they're getting into this little higher end stuff.
Really artistic.
Very artistic, and there you go.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nice
so-
lyric fold.
Yeah, isn't that awesome? Like that's
Oh
just
my
a
God.
work of art in itself. I have a couple of copies of this, so this is not a big issue.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
wrote on it, but it's just such a great album. And this is one of the albums I have a collage of. Like I don't know if I've shown
Yes.
you, or you saw in my music.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I got the album, the 45. The 45 I had to order out of Spain, I think, because
Oh my gosh.
it's the only place where they put this picture on the 45.
Nice.
And so.
That's
Yeah.
so awesome. Man.
Yeah, and so and this is RCA, I think, label already. Yeah, it's regular orange RCA. That was most of the Guess Who records were orange RCA.
Yeah.
And Nimbus 9 was kind of my favorite. So that is American Woman, and so that song put them onto the international market. Not only did it do that, but it was the first Canadian rock band Billboard song to hit #1. It's American Woman.
That's amazing.
And so that put
The
that put
Winnipeggers from
that put Canadian musicians, like Guess Who in
Yeah.
particular, but put Canadian musicians onto the map as
That's
far
amazing.
as, because everybody had to run to the States, right, to get successful. Or
Isn't
whatever.
that cool that it came right here from Manitoba too?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I have talked to Randy Bachman in person. Kind of
So
cool.
awesome.
Just a few words though.
So awesome.
And in fact, I have the 8-track here to prove it. There you go.
Wow. That's amazing.
Actually, that was in Morden. I got that one done at Corn and Apple
Oh
Festival.
my
He
God.
played there 1 year, yeah.
So amazing.
But there's an oddity on here too. The reason I brought this is there's an oddity on here. The best of the Guess Who is essentially half of it is American Woman and half of it is Share the Land. That's about what it amounts to. Because that's all the best songs off this album, and all the best songs off this album. They put it on an 8-track called The Best of the Guess Who. But there's a song on here that's not on the album, on the Best of the Guess Who album. It's nowhere else. It's called Running Down the Street.
Oh.
And it's awesome. It's a great,
Wow.
great song. Running Down the Street. It is on a 45. It is a flip side of something. It just is not coming to me right now, but it's a flip side of something. So you can get it on a 45 if you can find it.
Yeah.
Or you can get it on the 8-track only. You can't get it on the vinyl, on the Best of the Guess Who.
Oh my gosh.
So that's the oddity there. And so now Share the Land. And I think Share the Land we have talked about in...
Yeah, we've talked
In length.
extensively yet.
Yeah, we have talked about all this stuff. And
Yeah.
so, but I guess we can touch on it a little bit here. It's... I want to show you the gatefold here. The original first pressing gatefold, you didn't take the album out of the end here like you normally do. You take it on the inside. See that?
Oh,
Isn't that cool?
that's creative.
And then the good picture there. Here's all the lyrics.
Nice.
There's a different picture of them there. So it's a beautiful sleeve that they have inside.
Yeah, that's
Beautiful.
super
That's all
creative and
nice.
beautiful. Yeah.
That's to me, as good as Randy is, to me this was my favorite lineup. This music that they put out, these guys like Greg Gillespie and Kurt Winter, this guy's a genius.
Wow.
This guy and this guy, they're guitar geniuses. Like,
Wow.
and I met him in person, and Cale too. Like Cale is always overlooked, but if you listen to the bass, nobody can make the bass sound like he does. He has that feel. And so it's just a really good lineup, those guys.
Yeah.
So, but so on this album it's just loaded with hits like Bus Rider, and that's a song from Brother. I think haven't we talked about all that stuff?
Yeah.
I think we have.
I think we went into it a bit.
Yeah, so that's a song from Brother, and I don't know if I ever told you I met Bill Wallace here at the bar.
Yeah, that one came out early, that story. But Bill Wallace story.
Yeah, when I met Bill Wallace,
Yeah.
and what I didn't say on the last podcast we had about that, what I didn't say was when he was done his set, when he came back to the table to talk to me, he said, "Come outside with me." And so we went outside, and he went to his Astro van. He had a Chevy Astro van, and he jumped in the passenger seat, and I jumped in the passenger seat. He jumped in the driver's seat, and he pushed a cassette into his player. And he said to me, he says, "This is how these songs were supposed to sound. This is how Brother recorded them, not the Guess Who."
Oh.
See, when Kurt Winter went over from the Brother to the Guess Who, he took these songs with him to the Guess Who.
Oh my God.
And what he took with him was Bus Rider and Hand Me Down World. I'm not sure about this one. No, couldn't have been that one. But that one and that one. I thought there was another one. But Bus Rider and Hand Me Down World he brought from Brother. The Brother was three guys. It was Kurt Winter, Bill Wallace, and I can see the guy's face. Can't think of the name. Vance. That's something.
Mm.
But anyway, so he brought these songs over to Guess Who because
Wow.
Cummings or Bachman had left, so Kurt and then Greg Lesko comes in from a band called Wild Rice. So from Wild Rice to and Kurt Winter from Brother, and they go into the studio and they record, and so they record all these songs, and the song "Share the Land," Randy or Cummings had that song for a while already, but Randy Bachman didn't really like it. It didn't suit
Yeah.
the Guess Who stuff, and he didn't care for it, so they never really recorded it or did anything with it.
Oh.
Now that Randy's gone, they thought they'd try it, and of course now you got two guitars, you got harmony guitars going, and I mean it's one of the greatest songs of all time.
Yeah.
I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so we're gonna.
I'm just checking the time here. Oh, we got 15 minutes.
So I know there's so much stuff to cover on the Guess Who. It's hard to get through in 45 minutes.
Oh, keep it going, man. This is so exciting.
Yeah. So this is, and also Guess Who album on 8-track. The only oddity here is a hang or coming down off the money bag. Song of the Dog it's one song. It's kind of like the two part, like the Ramble Tamble song by
Right.
CCR. This is kind of two parts to it. But this version is different than any other version. Like you can't on the album.
Mm-hmm.
It's this version. On the 8-track, it's a different version. It's really cool. It's a little longer. They add stuff just to fill the tracks up.
Yeah.
Is what they do. So if you want the original, really good version of Coming Down Off the Money Bag, this is what you got to have.
Oh my
8-track. So
God.
very few people have that, and
Yeah.
I do. I have that. So that's the oddity there. And here, a little bit of an oddity here. This gotta fit in somewhere because it's Albert Flasher. I'm not sure a time frame where it would fit in, and Broken. And both these songs are not on an album anywhere. Albert Flasher was actually quite a big AM radio hit.
Wow.
And it's still one of their popular songs when they play it, but it was never on an album.
Really?
Yeah, so this is a kind of and this song is just killer good. It should have been on Share the Land album or
Wow.
yeah, it should have been on Share the Land album. And Running Down the Street too should have been on some album because it was so good. It was on I know. Running Down the Street was on The Way They Were, like after the fact.
Yeah.
That story's coming up. So
Cool.
So anyway, that was the oddity there. Now we are So Long Bannatyne. I'm trying to do these. Yeah, isn't that cool?
Oh, so good.
57 Chevy. And like that. Gatefold, they're all dressed up. Cummings.
Wow, man.
Cummings, Peterson, Rescue, Winter, Kale. Upside down is hard to tell who's who, but
Yeah.
yeah. So that's Cummings, and that's a bass. That's a drummer. That's Lesku guitar, and Kurt Winter. This guy's a guitar genius.
Mm-hmm.
With his just when he touches it,
Wow,
whatever
man.
he plays is just so awesome. This guy, he's got really strong jazz influence in him,
Right.
and so his playing is just like a friend of mine, Bob. He says it's just plain tasty.
Wow.
When
yeah.
this guy plays,
yeah.
it's just plain
And this
tasty.
is again.
And that's Lesku, Greg Lesku.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a bunch of different bands around Winnipeg.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I've heard
different
it. I've heard
Yeah,
it.
and when they played in Manitou, they were Swing Sonique.
Oh yes.
And that was the day I met him. And so anyway, great songs on here. This album too. It's a little bit of goofiness. Like Cummings had a little bit of goofy. Hello, my Chevrier home.
Yeah.
And that's right, I guess, when they moved from Bannatyne, which is downtown, to Chevrier, which is off of Pembina Highway.
Yeah.
And so that's. And I had a friend that lived on this street, and he said, he knew where that house was, where they lived.
Oh.
But on this album is a little bit of goofiness, like One Man Army. It's kind of goofy. She Might Have Been a Nice Girl. Great song. Really, really good. So Long Bannatyne's a really nice, slow, bluesy rocker. And Life in the Bloodstream, piano. And one of the purest voice songs that Cummings does, period, is Life in the Bloodstream. It's piano and him singing, not rough, not his American Woman rough voice. It's his, I don't know, he's just his beautiful voice. He sings that song. One Divided is Of course, that's another Lescu song where he takes his acoustic guitar and he just plays and sings on acoustic. It's just awesome. And then Going a Little Crazy is kind of, yeah, they got into a little off the beaten track a little bit. Sour Sweet, great song. That's more into, Sour Sweet is more Cummings. It's like later years when Cummings went on his own. That's the kind of stuff he was doing, Sour Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So in Pain Train, I'm not sure where that comes from. It's just a rocker. And then Rain Dance, of course, big AM radio hit. And Fiddlin', well, that's Goofy again, you know. Oh, F-I-D-D-L-I-N spells fiddlin'.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how the way they sing. They're pretending they're drunk, and maybe they are.
Right.
And Gray Day is it's one of those songs maybe you love it. I don't. It's kind of like ho hum.
Yeah.
But I can see where some people might really like it. But
yeah, you can see they're having fun in this album. They're more.
Yeah, you're
like
right.
It seems like this would be
dressing up and
they're more
doing different photos, and here they're all in their suits. I don't know.
Yeah, you see Burton there with his Brit,
with his
hands in his pockets, like
with his pink
cool.
shirt.
So awesome.
It is.
That's so awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, these guys were awesome, and now we're getting into. Oh, I can do this later. Now we're getting into rockin'. Now these boys are rockin'.
Oh,
I remember listening to this on a cassette. A friend of mine had the cassette, and I hung out with him quite a bit. And we had that thing going in his car all the time. He was driving I believe it was a '66 Ford Fairlane, nice car, and playing this stuff. And on here is some radio songs. I got this. I have a copy of this a few times. I have about 2 or 3 copies of this, but this particular one I got from a friend of mine passed away.
Oh.
And after I wrote this on there just so I could remember which album it was, and after he had died, and a little while later, his wife brought it to me and she said, "Jim wanted you to have this."
Oh, that's special.
Yeah, so this is a very special album to me.
Yeah.
And so. But also Gatefold. It's got pictures of the guys inside. But the notable songs on here is radio songs. I think Heartbroken Bopper was a radio song. Get Your Ribbons On. Probably not. Smoke Big Factory. Great song. It wasn't on. Arrivederci Girl. Arrivederci Girl was a radio song. Guns, Guns, Guns. I think a little bit was on radio. And then... A lot of this stuff is just album stuff, but some of the best Guess Who harmonies you ever heard is on this album, like Heaven Only Moved Once Yesterday. And jazz, Back to the City, Nashville Snickers, they're pretty jazzy. That's Lescu, Lescu influence on those songs. And
I was looking at this picture on the back, that's what made me chuckle. At first I thought they looked like they're in like the drunk tank. Where are they, you think? Are they out there to shut it? It looks a little funny there.
I don't know. I've never thought about it. But they're all laughing about something.
Yeah. But it's...
Kurt Winter, he's just thinking like, what? And of all these guys I see here, he's the only one that's passed away. These guys are still alive. Yeah, he's gone.
Oh.
Yeah, great musician taken.
Yeah.
But great album to listen to. And I know at one time, and I've heard on other times he said something different, but I remember at one time Burton Cummings said this was his favorite album of the Yes.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah. And yet...
I had just a quick question, like trajectory-wise, their life, like they've already established themselves as a really one of the best bands around, and then suddenly they come out with like a rock album, sort of like they're picking up on. Yeah. It's sort of like settling into a rhythm. What happens after is my question. Like after this band, this song, what happened after this album? If you can summarize, we got about 5 minutes.
Okay, after this album,
in their careers, like where did the band go?
Well, basically downhill.
Did they? This was the peak?
I don't know.
Where would you
It
say
depends
the
on.
peak was?
It's all opinion on
Yeah.
what you like and all that. This was it wasn't a whole lot of radio stuff off here, and yet it was. But yeah, and then they went rockin'. I mean, after rockin', they went Artificial Paradise, and then
Well, yeah. Take your time through Artificial Paradise. Talk about
Artificial
that one.
Paradise was. I don't know exactly what they're trying to do, but it's just full of all kinds of paraphernalia. You know, like this is original.
Oh, it's like a Reader's Digest thing.
This is original. It has all the stuff in it. It's hard to find everything, all parts of this.
Yeah.
This is original that I bought years ago when it was first came out.
Interesting.
So it has all this crazy, 10 chances to be a winner, and you'll never have it earned.
Oh, it's totally the
It's just goofy.
sweepstakes. Sort of.
Yeah, sweepstakes, and just I have no idea who all these. I've never really actually looked at all this, and here they're dressed up all goofy, and I see Don McDougall is with them already on this album. And
What's the music like on this? Like the songs, are they?
Yeah, there's some good stuff on here, like Bye Bye Babe. It was a first. See, this is already. Lescue has left the band already at this point. He left during the. He left actually, I think, during this tour when they had to hire Don McDougall.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it was the first album where the side one, first song, is not sung by Burton Cummings.
Oh.
Bye Bye Baby. And it was a hit on the radio. It was Bill Wallace sang it. See, Bill Wallace from The Brother now joined the Guess Who.
Okay.
And then Samantha's Living Room, that is Don McDougall at his finest. That's a wonderful song.
Yeah.
And Follow Your Daughter Home is just such a nice song. I don't know why. It's just such a hook song. Like it's just it's one that stays with you even you quit listening to it. You're still going.
Yeah.
It's a great song. And then Orly is I don't know if I'd call it country, but it's just awesome. They do have fiddle on it. And it's a guy, I've met the fiddle player actually that played fiddle on there. Met him at a wedding one time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Stan Winenstock, and he says, I played on the Guess Who album, the Orly.
Oh,
Guess Who
wow.
album. He says, but I never got credit for it till the following album. And which was true, because if you look on this album, you can't find his name anywhere. But if you look in the next album, which would be, I think it was number 10, not Road Food. I think number 10 is next.
So these guys had like a serious, lengthy career, like in terms of as bands go, like.
Yeah, I'd say too. But you got to remember at the same time, they are now like starting with the Rockin' album, or even the So Long Valentine album. They're now competing with BTO on the charts.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So when Bachman left, it was back a couple albums ago?
Bachman left at American Woman.
Okay.
When American Woman was at its peak, that's when Bachman left. And he started out with Brave Belt and all that stuff, and then eventually BTO. And so, but by 1974 or so, even 73, like Bachman Turner Overdrive is putting out stuff, and so was the Guess Who's. And Bachman Turner Overdrive was getting better results than the Guess Who were, and so they were now competing with Randy Bachman.
Wow.
With all this stuff.
Yeah. So quick question to wind her up. We got 2 minutes here.
Okay.
So I was gonna say, like, when did the band fall apart? When did like, not to focus on this at the end, but I know there was a moment where Burton Cummings like got disenfranchised with Winnipeg. He left sort of I don't even really want to focus on this, but what happened there? Like he left the band, and then that kind of, what year was that?
I don't know. See, they brought in all these different players, and then they brought in Dominic Triano. See, and he got very frustrated on this tour because they lost Lescue. He walked out during the tour.
So he's losing all his bandmates.
Left him hang, and so he was very upset about that. And they brought in Don McDougall. He's a wonderful musician.
For sure.
And And a great album.
Flip through them slowly and just say a few words about each one, just quick.
So this is a live album, live at the Paramount.
Yeah.
Fairly, so it's a great album to listen to. And the only thing, there was a new song in here called "Run Back to Saskatoon," and that was a radio hit.
Oh.
Yeah, the live version was a radio hit. So they, and then I think 10 was next, but maybe it was Road Food. I'm not sure exactly. But this and other interviews I heard Cummings say that they were at their top of their game in this album. That's what he said, and yet it didn't really produce as Star Baby. Great song. First song is Star Baby.
Yeah.
Clap for the Wolfman, big hit off of that one. So they had 2 hits off of that one, but I never really thought it was all that terribly good. And then number 10 is more, now we're getting into more the feel of Burton Cummings' influence.
So obviously he's going in his own direction here.
Yeah, I think this picture kind of tells a little bit of the story. Is now it's already Burton Cummings and his musicians. It's not really the Guess Who anymore, and so you can almost hear it on his stuff here. And the way he sings, it's more melodic and gentle, and he's not as rocky as the Guess Who were. And then flavors, of course, they bring in they've already brought in Triano, or haven't they? I'm not sure. There is Dancing Fool. It was a little bit of a hit on album called Flavors. And yes, but it's a lot of just Cummings, and he's just now you can just feel the transition of his solo career coming into play.
Yes.
And then the influence of Dominic Triano, who was out of Toronto, the first non-Winnipegger to ever play with the Guess Who.
Oh.
And the results were not good. Oh. I know later on Cummings says what we did on that album he was not pleased with because or even live shows, and not that he's a bad musician, he didn't have the feel. He had a jazzy feel, and he had a song on his own before he ever met the Guess Who, or after the fact, I guess. And so he did not fit the band Power to Music. So, and he's already passed away too. But he was the only non-Winnipegger to play with the Guess Who.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
That was their last album, and then that was it. He went on his own. And this album was stuff they had recorded before all of this.
These pre.
This would have been like before American Woman, or just after American Woman, or maybe about the same time.
Wow.
They had recorded this song, but they never went on the album. And here's Run It On the Street.
Oh,
which you
nice.
can find on that A-track.
Yeah. I'm going to look that up right away.
So this isn't really a studio album, but they took all the songs and threw them on an album and called it The Way They Were. Oh, yes. And these are just the best of the Guess Who Volume 1 and 2. And in 1983, they got together and did arm in arm there.
Nice.
And I was at that concert.
Were you? This is
that. I saw that,
so good, man.
Yeah, it was awesome. Great concert. And then, of course, in 2000 was there where I bought this hat. Look at that. Nice.
I'm going to take a few photos after we wind her up. So thanks, Ernie. That was, what a great podcast. Number 15, 45 RPNs. We talked about the Guess Who. And Ernie is just he's got such good knowledge about this band. So hope someone out there recognizes it and maybe reaches out. So hope you have a good Canada Day long weekend.
Yes, it's been a great day. Spent the morning in my car at a car parade, and they spent the evening here, or part of my evening here. It's an awesome day.
Awesome, guys. Have a good night. We're logging out for today. Peace out.
Well, that went way too quick.
Hold on, I think I'm still running here. Just stop it.
Way too quick.